For those of you who've been following along for at least the last year, you may recognize this garden I'm standing in front of. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and I'd love to know, how long have you been following Garden Crossings? Leave your comment below as to how long you've been following our channel and what is it you like to hear best when I'm doing these videos. That's very helpful to me with getting new content that is something that is appropriate to what you are looking for. So behind me is a hydrangea planting that we planted last summer, and the plants started off all as our 1 gallon, our 8-inch pot containers, and they are filling out fabulously this year. So let's go ahead and take a look at these 3 hydrangea varieties and how they are doing this summer. When planting this bed, we wanted to kind of do a mass planting, but yet we didn't want to use all of the space with just one type of plant. So we took 3 hydrangeas and, in a sense, mass planted 3 different hydrangeas. When we did this, we wanted to make sure they were all going to be similar heights at maturity. They could have slightly different flower forms as they were going along, and if they bloomed at different times, that was going to be okay as well. So as you can see, the plants are all doing pretty nicely. They started off in an 8-inch or 1 gallon size container, and right now they're all about 2.5 tall by about 2.5 wide. So it's quite interesting to see that as they're maturing, even though there's different plants here, they're all maturing at fairly the same rate. It's not like one is just leaping to new heights, leaving the others behind. So what varieties did we use? So the 3 hydrangea varieties we chose for this planting were the Little Lime Punch, which are these 2 here. Little Lime Punch is hardy in zones 3 to 8 and will get 3 to 5 foot tall at maturity. So we are banking that they're going to get at least 5 foot tall at maturity. Typically when the plant heights are listed, there's a low end and a high end. When we're planting, we usually figure that the high end is going to be minimally how tall they're going to be. So the Little Lime Punch has beautiful white flowers as it starts off, and as you can see, they're just starting to open up. And then as these flowers age, they're going to turn to a very bright, beautiful magenta. We are located in Michigan. We are a zone 6A, and hydrangeas do beautifully here. I'd like to say that we are in hydrangea country. I know for those of you in the south, you don't get the beautiful pinks that can occur on these hardy hydrangeas, but we are fortunate enough here in Michigan to get beautiful pinks. The next 3 that we're seeing here are the Little Quickfire. Little Quickfire is also hardy in zones 3 to 8 and gets about 5 foot tall and wide at maturity. Little Quickfire features more of a lace cap looking bloom. So these blooms are just starting, and you're seeing they're already showing some signs of pink. So the beautiful white with the pink, as these age, they're going to continue to get more and more pink. Another thing you may be noticing too is the stems. Do you notice how there's a little bit of redness to the stems? That just adds another unique look to the Little Quickfire hydrangea. Making our way down the path, the next plants we're coming to are the pufferfish hydrangea. Again, these are all part of the hardy hydrangea or panicle hydrangea family. They all bloom off of the new growth. So these are all very reliable hydrangeas. If you have a hard winter, the buds are not going to be affected by that because all the buds are formed on the new growth. So let's take a closer look here at pufferfish. Really beautiful, large, kind of dainty, airy looking blooms. As these blooms mature, we're going to see a unique little puff or tuft on the end of the blooms. And I'm going to see if we can kind of show you. It's not going to really show because they're just not too mature yet. But look at the very tip of that bloom. There's just kind of a puff, a little spray. And that's kind of where the name came from with the pufferfish. So pufferfish are a white flower, and they will continue to be a white flower. They may take on a little bit of the lime green look to them, but pufferfish is not known to take on a pink coloration, where most hardy hydrangeas will at some point have a beautiful pink, dusty pink, magenta pink hue to it. Pufferfish will continue to stay white and or lime green in color. Pufferfish gets 5 foot tall and wide as well at maturity. Here we've got some more of the Little Lime Punch. And actually there's a few flowers that are just starting to take on a slight pink hue to them. We'll do an update on these as they continue to mature throughout the summer, but eventually these are going to be just a beautiful bright magenta red color. Some more. And I think what's nice about these kind of videos is you can see, you know, they were planted, like I mentioned, from a 1 gallon size container last year, and this just gives you an idea of the growth that can occur in just one season. Obviously, we know they're not going to be 5 foot overnight. It's going to take a few years. It's going to take 3 to 5 years for these plants to hit maturity. But in the meantime, even when they're at their smaller state, they still have an incredible, impressive flower show. Here's some more of the puffer fish, just to show you just the massive amounts of flowers, and they're covering that whole plant. You're not seeing hardly any foliage at all on those shrubs. More of the little quickfire. A little quickfire is a little bit not as showy at this point, but I think what we're going to see with these little quickfire, and I'm noticing this as we're walking through, is some of the older stems, some of the first ones to emerge, that's where we're seeing the flowers at right now. But we can see here, this is all new growth. So I think a little later on in the season, we are going to be pleasantly surprised with additional flowers from the buds. So there at the tippy top, there's a bud that's just starting. I'm looking over here to this plant as well, and noticing that there's buds just starting in this new growth. So I think this one will continue to bloom even longer in the season because of the new growth that is putting on those a little bit later buds. Here's some more of the little lime punch, doing just as fabulous the whole way through this entire garden. This is a full sun garden, and this garden, you can see the hose sitting there is we'll set up, there's a dripper buried in here, but we have to intentionally hook it to a hose to get this garden watered. So this garden gets watered once, maybe twice a week, and you can see how the plants are just doing fabulous. So for those of you who are going to ask, the arborvitaes in the back, those are the North Pole arborvitaes, and those should get 10 to 15 feet tall or so at maturity. And this was kind of a gamble for us because typically arborvitaes or thuya are not a deer resistant variety. So you definitely know if you have deer in your area by looking at your arborvitae or thuya. So far so good. We do not see any evidence of deer browse, although you can see off in the distance there is fields everywhere, and the deer are not finding this home yet. So these are going to be a great windbreak, also a great evergreen break to the building in the background there as they grow and mature. And we had some sedum lemon coral that was left over, so we planted a beautiful border of sedum lemon coral because we knew that it would really look nice with these white blooms, especially as the blooms were emerging and that lime green was appearing. We knew that it would be really complementary. And sedum lemon coral is a drought tolerant annual, so it can handle being out in areas that maybe aren't getting watered as often as what some of your other annuals are going to prefer. So we hope you enjoyed this update on how this hydrangea bed is doing and how the plants are growing. I think I am very pleased with the growth rate that they've put on in the last year. I am absolutely impressed with the amount of flowers we are seeing. The flower coverage is just fantastic. And as these continue to grow and get to that 5 foot height, I think this is going to make a very impressive hedge up against our parking lot. If you have any questions or comments on any of the plants that you've seen in today's video, please feel free to leave a comment below. And as I mentioned, I honestly would love to hear, how long have you been following Garden Crossings here on YouTube and or on our Facebook channel if you're watching there? Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.